and 6 family members gathered to remember their loved ones lost 16 years ago today. We are here to honor those 2,977 lives claimed by the brutal attacks of September 11, 2001. Men and women who woke that day never anticipating an attack on their place of work or against this country. Innocents who hailed from 90 nations and all walks of life. Attackers perpetrating murder that fateful day. But heroism and compassion were boundless on 9/11. Patriots from all backgrounds and all walks of life responded with speed, with courage, and with compassion. In the aftermath of the attack, our service members, our nation, rallied together as one. For while we had never asked for this fight, we are steadfastly committed to seeing it through, as President Trump has made abundantly clear. And with no more temporizing, as our example of leadership galvanizes other nations to stand united against this threat to all humankind. Maniacs disguised in false religious garb thought by hurting us they could scare us that day. But we, Americans, are not made of cotton candy. We are not seaweed drifting in the current. We are not intimidated by our enemies, and Mr. President, your military does not scare. Our nation's troops today are worthy successors of our Revolutionary Army at Valley Forge, worthy successors of our valiant sailors at Midway and our Marines at Bloody Iwo Jima, and of our Air Force pilots patrolling Mig Alley. Men and women of your armed forces, America, having signed a blank check to the protection of the American people and to the defense of our Constitution, a check payable with their very lives, your military stands ready and confident to defend this country, this experiment in democracy. And we will continue to do so using all means necessary and as long as necessary. So today we remember the loss of so many in New York City, in a somber field in Pennsylvania, and here in this very building behind me, and in many battles since, and some of those battles are still raging. As former Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld observed, on 9/11 every year, we again are mindful and resolute that their deaths, like their lives, shall have meaning, and that is in how we carry forward our responsibility to protect America. To the families of those who perished, the loss you have endured drives us in our mission today and every day. And it's in that spirit, ladies and gentlemen, that it's my honor to introduce our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you, Secretary Mattis, General Dunford, members of the Cabinet, members of the armed forces, first responders, and most importantly, to the families and to the survivors. It's an honor to join you on this very, very solemn location. This is an occasion that is extraordinary, and it'll always be extraordinary. Before we begin, I'd like to send our nation's prayers to everyone in the path of Hurricanes Irma and to everyone suffering through the devastation of Hurricane Harvey. These are storms of catastrophic severity, and we're marshaling the full resources of the federal government to help our fellow Americans in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee, and all of those wonderful places and states in harm's way. When Americans are in need, Americans pull together, and we are one country. And when we face hardship, we emerge closer, stronger, and more determined than ever. We're gathered here today to remember a morning that started very much like this one. Parents dropped off their children at school, travelers stood in line at airports and getting ready to board flights. Here at the Pentagon and at offices all across the country, people began their early meetings. Then our whole world changed. America was under attack, first at the World Trade Center, then here at the Pentagon, and then in Pennsylvania. The horror and anguish of that dark day were seared into our national memory forever. It was the worst attack on our country since Pearl Harbor, and even worse because this was an attack on civilians, innocent men, women, and children whose lives were taken so needlessly. For the families with us on this anniversary, we know that not a single day goes by when you don't think about the loved one stolen from your life. Today, our entire nation grieves with you, and with every family of those 2,977 innocent souls who were murdered by terrorists 16 years ago. Each family here today represents a son or daughter, a sister or brother, a mother or father who was taken from you on that terrible, terrible day. But no force on earth can ever take away your memories, diminish your love, or break your will to endure and carry on and go forward. Though we can never erase your pain or bring back those you lost, we can honor their sacrifice by pledging our resolve to do whatever we must to keep our people safe. On that day, not only did the world change, but we all changed. Our eyes were opened to the depths of the evil we face. But in that hour of darkness, we also came together with renewed purpose. Our differences never looked so small. Our common bonds never felt so strong. The sacrifice grounds on which we stand today are a monument to our national unity and to our strength. For more than 7 decades, the Pentagon has stood as a global symbol of American might, not only because of the great power contained within these halls, but because of the incredible character of the people who fill them. They secure our freedom, they defend our flag, and they support our courageous troops all around the world. Among the 184 brave Americans who perished on these grounds were young enlisted service members, dedicated civil servants who had worked here for decades, and veterans who served our nation in Korea, in Vietnam, and in the Middle East. All of them loved this country and pledged their very lives to protect it. That September morning, each of those brave Americans died as they had lived, as heroes, doing their duty and protecting us and our country. We mourn them, we honor them, and we pledge to never, ever forget them. We also remember and cherish the lives of the beloved Americans who boarded Flight 77 at Dulles Airport that morning. Every one of them had a family, a story, and beautiful dreams. Each of them had people they loved and who loved them back. And they all left behind a deep emptiness that their warmth and grace once filled so fully and so beautifully. The living, breathing soul of America wept with grief for every life taken on that day. We shed our tears in their memory, pledged our devotion in their honor, and turned our sorrow into an unstoppable resolve to achieve justice in their name. The terrorists who attacked us thought they could incite fear and weaken our spirit. But America cannot be intimidated, and those who try will soon join the long list of vanquished enemies who dared to test our mettle. In the years after September 11th, more than 5 million young men and women have joined the ranks of our great military to defend our country against barbaric forces of evil and destruction. American forces are relentlessly pursuing and destroying the enemy's all civilized people, ensuring, and these are horrible, horrible enemies, enemies like we've never seen before. But we're ensuring that they never again have a safe haven to launch attacks against our country. We are making plain to these savage killers that there is no dark corner beyond our reach, no sanctuary beyond our grasp, and nowhere to hide anywhere on this very large earth. Since 9/11, nearly 7,000 service members have given their lives fighting terrorists around the globe. Some of them rest just beyond this fence, in the shrine to our nation's heroes, on the grounds of Arlington National Cemetery. They came from all backgrounds, all races, all faiths, but they were all there to dedicate their lives. And they defend our one great American flag. They and every person who puts on the uniform has the love and gratitude of our entire nation. Today, as we stand on this hallowed ground, we are reminded of the timeless truth that when America is united, no force on earth can break us apart. No force. On the morning of 9/11, Pentagon police officer Isaac Hupel and a special person was one of the many heroes whose love for his fellow Americans knew no bounds. He was a mile away when he got the call over his radio that a plane had crashed into the Pentagon. He sped to the scene and raced into smoke and fire. Few people would have done it. He ducked under live electrical wires and trudged through puddles of jet fuel, only steps away from sparks and from vicious flame. In the pitch black, he began calling out people in need of help. Isaac heard faint voices, and he wanted to answer those faint voices. One by one, he carried people out of the burning rubble. He kept going back into the smoldering darkness, calling out to anyone who could hear, anyone who was alive. He saved as many as 20 people who had followed his voice. He carried 8 himself. For nearly 36 hours, Isaac kept on saving lives, serving our nation, and protecting our safety in our honor and our hour of need. And today, Isaac continues to do exactly that. Isaac still works at the Pentagon, now as a sergeant. He's on duty right now, and he's joined us here today for the ceremony. And this morning, all of us and all of America thank Isaac for his service. Where is Isaac? Thank you. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you. To Isaac and to every first responder and survivor of the attack you carry on the legacy of the friends you lost, you keep alive the memory of those who perished, and you make America proud. Very, very proud. To the family members with us today, I know that it's with a pained and heavy heart that you come back to this place. But by doing so, by choosing to persevere through the grief, the sorrow, you honor your heroes. You renew our courage, and you strengthen all of us. You really do. You strengthen all of us. Here on the west side of the Pentagon, terrorists tried to break our resolve. It's not going to happen. But where they left a mark, with fire and rubble, Americans defiantly raised the stars and stripes, our beautiful flag that for more than 2 centuries has graced our ships, flown in our skies, and led our brave heroes to victory after victory in battle. The flag that binds us all together as Americans, who cherish our values and protect our way of life. The flag that reminds us today of who we are, what we stand for, and why we fight. Woven into that beautiful flag is the story of our resolve. We have overcome every challenge, every single challenge, every one of them. We've triumphed over every evil and remained united as one nation under God. America does not bend. We do not waver, and we will never, ever yield. So here at this memorial, with hearts both sad and determined, we honor every hero who keeps us safe and free, and we pledge to work together, to fight together, and to overcome together every enemy and obstacle that's ever in our path. Our values will endure. Our people will thrive. Our nation will prevail, and the memory of our loved ones will never, ever die. Thank you. May God bless you. May God forever bless the great United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. The President of the United States with his remarks on this morning, 16 years to the day when nearly 3,000 lives were lost on 9/11. There at the Pentagon, the President honoring specifically the 184 lives lost when American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon. A beautiful moment where he pointed out a young man named Isaac who ran into danger and could have died himself, saving others. A Pentagon police officer who continues to serve this nation at the Pentagon. Let's bring in our Barbara Starr, Pentagon correspondent. You know, Barbara, the words of the President, when Americans are in need, Americans pull together as one country, and Isaac is just one of so many heroes that day that continue to serve this nation, Barbara.
We see Sergeant Isaac around the Pentagon all the time. He's still on duty. He mans various security checkpoints. Let me be the one to say it. 16 years, the Pentagon police force are remarkable people. They move 20,000 plus people in and out of this building safely every day, and we are all grateful to them. There are names and faces. This is not just the fog of history in these hallways. I can tell you, standing out there as I was 16 years ago, it's tough to look at it every year because that building, that side of the building, was rebuilt within 1 year. It was very important, a very important symbol that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld personally oversaw. He wanted this place back in tip-top shape, back whole. And I think it's really important every year to remember on that morning, amidst the flames, the death, the confusion, Don Rumsfeld, as Secretary of Defense, refused to shut this building down. He might have been advised to do so. He refused to leave. When he didn't leave, the top generals didn't leave. The building stayed open. The dead and the wounded were cared for. There was security. There was an effort to put out the fire from the plane. But a very important moment in history, because 16 years later, you can look at the Pentagon and say that the United States military on that morning, when its headquarters was attacked, no retreat, no surrender. The U.S. military stayed in place. And I know I've said that before on previous anniversaries, but it's something I feel is very important to recall, that Secretary Rumsfeld made sure this place did not shut down. And some of the people who served here, still to this day, remarkable stories of those who fell and those who continued on. There was an older man here. His name was Max Bilkey. He was an Army civilian. He was here that morning working. Max Bilkey, as a young man, was the last combat soldier out of Vietnam. He came home, he retired, he came back as a civilian, and he was killed here that morning. A moment to pause and remember, perhaps, the many lives of those who served. Poppy?
Absolutely, Barbara Starr. Thank you for all of that. Of course, you were there through all of it and bringing us back to those memories of those American heroes who the president honored as well. Before I take you back to John covering how America is coming together right now in the wake of Irma, I want to show you some pictures out of Shanksville, Pennsylvania, because as the president was wrapping up, there was a beautiful moment of silence at 10:03 a.m. in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, to mark the lives of those 40 passengers and crew on board United Airlines Flight 93. The heroes on board believed to have brought down that plane in that field in Pennsylvania, saving countless other lives. That moment, those lives remembered as well this morning. John?
You know, Poppy, I'm always struck by the fact that the kids who lost their parents 16 years ago today, they're now in college. They've now moved on. They're now getting married, living legacies to those people who were lost. And on this day, simply, we have to say we will never forget. They are always in our hearts. Poppy, our thanks to you. Let me reset where I am in the situation with Hurricane Irma, which is now Tropical Storm Irma. More than 5 million people without power in the state of Florida. This is an event which has had an impact over the entire state of Florida. The street where I'm standing, Brickell Ave, yesterday was Brickell River. Now it's Brickell Dirt Road, covered by mud and debris as people are coming back to figure out how much damage was done. It was covered in 6 feet of water now. There was a hurricane that really struck the west coast of Florida with enormous force. It's moved up now over to the Jacksonville area, delivering historic storm surge there, and it is not over yet. Let's get to Chad Myers in the Weather Center right now. The most urgent question, Chad, is where is it? Where is it going? What do people need to know?
It is right there, southwest of Jacksonville. Where is it going? To the northwest. Where is it affecting the most right now? Anywhere from Charleston down through Jacksonville, with flash flood emergencies going on for record flooding. More flooding going on now than during Hurricane Matthew in Savannah or in Tybee. More flooding than 1964 all the way back to the 1860s, before there were even gauges on the St. Johns River in Jacksonville. All because the wind is blowing the water here. It's the same surge you always get with a hurricane, but it's the surge on the north side. We talk about the dirty side, the worst side of the storm. This is now the worst side of the storm. Now, there is some surge going back into Tampa, but 2 to 3 feet. Not what could have been had the storm been slightly farther offshore. The storm is a tropical storm. It is 70 miles per hour. It is dying. It is disintegrating. There's enough of a high pressure up here that the winds will gust to near hurricane strength all the way through Georgia, South Carolina, and even southern North Carolina later on today. At least 70 mile per hour gusts all through this region. That will bring power lines down, trees down, and put more people without power. Like 5 million in Florida is not enough, John, because it still keeps going. It's dying, but it still keeps going for this region right through here. Jacksonville, St. Augustine, all the way almost to Charleston.
Still going. Chad Myers, thank you so much for that forecast. And Chad, thank you for guiding us through yesterday. In so many ways, you took us by the hand and walked us through what we were all experiencing and told us what we could expect and how to stay safe. So really, thank you for what you've been doing.
If I could have taken you by the hand and taken you inside, I would have.
Yeah, you and my mom both. Today is all about assessing the damage out here. You can see people driving by here taking a look, trying to get a sense of if they can come back, when they can move their lives back to order right now. CNN doing the same thing. I want to go to Bradenton, which is south of Tampa right now. Diane Gallagher on the move, literally in a vehicle, trying to figure out how things stand right now. Diane.
That's right, John. We're in sort of what we call a roaming coverage view. We've got cameras all over it, and I want to actually switch to some of those cameras so you can see. We're in Bradenton. That's in Manatee County. We've been driving around here, watching people sort of come out after the storm, really receiving far less damage than they were expecting, but we still see quite a few, as you can, down trees. They have people with their children out here kind of directing traffic. We're going to switch over. You see they got the chainsaws out. One lane road at the moment. Pardon?
That way's blocked further up.
It's blocked again. Thank you so much. And yeah, people kind of trying to figure out, you see the traffic pattern here in Bradenton right now. They experience if the side camera here, we got the people with the chainsaws attempting really here at this point what they're dealing with besides just trees down is a lot of power outages. More than half of Manatee County lost power. They're part of that. More than 5 million in Florida without it at this point. We're going over the river here, this bay area, which is, it's high but not over the banks, John, and that's what they were really worried about, was getting that storm surge. The fact that Tampa Bay, the fact that the Warner's Bayou didn't get the storm surge that they